like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for Coffee Connection. And today, OMG, like it's like, wow. Um, and so this is one of the things about Coffee Connection that's really important is that, like, why do I never miss things? Pretty much plan my vacation, or if I'm on vacation, I'll be here because there's magic that happens in Coffee Connection. And so today we're going to actually start a series on how do you go ahead. So just to give a little background for those that don't know me, Mark Boersma, international speaker and author, written 16 books, writing 17 and 18 right now. I've traveled all around the world. I've written over 100 white papers. I've been paid a lot of money to come and speak at events. And so I've started events. And so one of the things, and you can start your own Coffee Connection. You can start it locally, where you can, have it weekly. I've done those kind of events where every week you get together for coffee with other business owners. And then also, or you can do virtual. So it depends on what type of business you have and those type of things. If you're asking me, is it easy? I'd say yes and no. So the challenge is you've got to have a system in place to develop, your Coffee Connection. Who do you need to, how many people do you need to start a Coffee Connection? One. If that one is really, really good, hopefully it's you. Like, hopefully it's you that's really, really good. So I started Coffee Connection with one, just me. And I'm really good, just like you, hopefully. So then what I need is I just need, one other person. So then I have two. And so I've done weekly ones for years, and I've done them live where we go to a restaurant. I've had rooms that were rented out. In northern Indiana, we do one at the first Saturday of every month. We rent out a room. We have a breakfast. So we have a Coffee Connection first Saturday of every month. And so the virtual ones, if you can get business from virtually, like, if you can do business over the internet or phone, you can do them virtually. But built a system. It's called BACCEE, and it's a really interesting system. So we're going to go ahead and kind of do case study and training on how to do this. We're working with EVAs and some VAs, virtual assistants, and then executive virtual assistants who are certified through Life Masteries Institute, which is a nonprofit organization. So they're highly trained, highly skilled individuals, and so that's who we contract with for my company, for various companies that I have. Actually, they're absolutely amazing. So they'll be actually going through this training as well with us. And so if you don't want to learn how to do it, you want somebody else to do it for you, then I would get in contact with Life Masteries Institute and the EVAs, and they do a wonderful job on it. So let's go ahead and start off. What is BACCEE? Now, this is for Coffee Connection, but it works for any group. You can name it whatever group you want to do, any group of people. And so when you do group selling, so I started, I'm a naturally introvert. So I have a hard time getting up in front of people and talking. I don't now, but I used to. When I was in college for my marketing degree, I had three classes that I had to do a group presentation. I checked out the fine print, and they didn't say everybody had to do it. So I negotiated myself with the other members and said, I had a lot of computers and a lot of skills. And I said, I don't want to speak. I don't want to speak. I'm going to go ahead, but I'll do all the backstage stuff. I'll do all the backstage stuff. And, but I'm not going to speak. They're like, well, you have to speak with us. I said, well, then I'm not going to do all the other stuff for you. And they said, okay, fine. And I got out of speaking. So you don't have to be a speaker. You don't have to like to be the center of attention. You don't have to like to do that. You can go ahead and be behind the scenes like the Wizard of Oz. You can go ahead and do that. That's fine. So what is BACCEE? BACCEE stands for, okay, so stands for before, after, consistent, before, after, consistent. Let me scroll down so you guys can actually see it. Consistent, exciting, and enlarging. Before, you have to do before the meeting. You have to communicate. So you communicate before the meeting, you communicate after the meeting, You're consistent, like you're a machine on the BA and the EE. Then you have to communicate in an exciting way, and you have to communicate with consistency and with the intention of growing. So that's what you need to do. Right. So the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, and they might actually be able to get you out like a little booklet or something like that. And so I think the thing that's hardest about BACCEE is it's really not brain surgery. It's really not rocket science. It's pretty simple. But the reason people aren't able to do it is because they lack discipline and consistency.
Okay.
And so this booklet will help you in being able to go through it. So, what's the purpose? To build profitable and successful podcast mastermind groups, which in coffee connection groups, any group of people which empower members to achieve what they desire from engaging in the group. Now, what's fascinating is you're going to do all this work to build a group, and people will come and they won't do the work. They won't invest into it. They just want to come and poach your group. They just want to come and they want to talk, or they want to go through and they want to talk and they want to pontificate. They want to show everybody in the group how smart they are. And they just they're coming there not for the relationship. They're coming there because they want business. And now I tend to talk really, really fast and go over a lot of information, especially about something like this, because I'm so excited about it and what it's going to do for all of your businesses. And so am I okay with people who come with the primary purpose of making money? They're not looking for relationships. They're looking to make money. Am I okay with those kind of people being part of the group? I am. I was in that season of life too. Now I'm in a season where I don't have to make money. So it's a nice season in life, but I know everybody's not. I wasn't always there. So, and it's not black and white, right? So people who tell you, well, I'm just here just to build relationships, typically those people don't actually stay. They're not there for that. They're really there to make money. And so what's the difference between a mastermind group and a networking group? A networking group is where you come, I give you a fish, you give me a fish, and we both get a fish. We both walk away happy. But we still end up owning a job rather than a company. And I'm really big into, me personally, the groups I participate in are mastermind groups. What's a mastermind group? A mastermind group is where we're exchanging ideas and technology and tools and systems. And I'm looking to build lifelong relationships. And I've made far more money, massive millions of dollars in mastermind groups, but it's not the same as a networking group. It's very, very different. So BNI is a networking group. That's what they are. And they're very good at that. But Coffee Connection, it's a mastermind group. I prefer mastermind groups. Now, it's okay to go ahead and blend them both together. So, before, and so this is the purpose. You want to go there. In my experience, if you go, and I tell people, I'm straight up with them. If you're coming to any part of my group and you're looking to sell the people that are in my groups, my networks, it probably is not going to work so well. It just won't. And so you want to, from my experience, you want to bring value. So you want to bring value to people, and that's the most important thing. And so here it says, before the weekly meeting, what do you do? Figure it out. It gives you kind of a list, and maybe rather than bullet points, there could be little boxes there that give you a checklist. So read this, and then next week we come back, and you can have questions on it. And so all of you that are participating live, you're really smart because you can interact. How's this work, and what role am I playing in all of those kind of things? The before the meeting is obviously to get people to attend the meeting. When new people attend the meeting, they're like babies, and so you give them all the attention. It's all about them. Until you get to a certain point, then they just kind of like, I can handle a group of about, in 30 minutes, I can go around the virtual room and in 30 minutes, I can go ahead and easily cover 10 people. 3 minutes. And they're not there to sell themselves, pitch themselves. If they want to share in the notes or whatever, they can share their name and phone number and websites. I don't care. Do whatever you want to do. But they're not there to pitch their product. Like, you know what? They can do that some other place. So it's 30 minutes. I tell people for mine, on the virtual ones, it's 30 minutes. Anything beyond 30 minutes is a gift from you to me to you, and us to one another. So people ask questions. They come prepared and they ask a question. And I have a rule that if I can't answer that question in 3 minutes or less with a diagram, well, then I don't have deep understanding about that particular topic. So I tend to be like to get down to business, make it happen. So once you get to 10 with Zoom, you can actually break off into separate groups. So maybe, and we'll talk about this in future podcasts, about different personalities. So I'm a driver personality. I know you all think that I'm an amiable or an expressive, like, oh, this guy's really nice and this guy's really fun. I'm not. I just fake it. No, I'm driver analytic. And so I respect everyone's time immensely. And so different personalities will look for different things. Some people just want to come and talk. And if they want to come and talk, I don't care, but they're going to do it in a room, not when I'm there, because I'm coming to accomplish something. If other people are coming to just network or talk, fine. I don't care. Do it in a separate room and you can do that. So what is it going to take to get people? And there's a whole Life Masteries has a multiple courses. I don't know, 2, 3, 4 courses on before and marketing, asking a question, telling a story. So this whole thing, how do you communicate something that you invite other people? One thing that I do really poorly is I will bring people wherever I go. Like Tom Kuntz and I, we get together and it's just the two of us. And then all of a sudden, there's 5, 10, 15, 20 people there. So wherever I go, it seems like there's people who follow that want to participate. What I don't do a good job on is I don't do a good job on getting everyone to participate to invite their network. So it's almost like it should be one of the expectations. Like if you're going to come and you're going to have access to 2, 3 people, well, then you should bring 2 or 3 people. If you're going to have access to 10 people, well, then you should invite 10 people, get 10 people to come. So that before, we're just going to give the surface and then we'll go deeper in future podcasts. All right. The after is after the meeting, you want to go ahead and communicate something out to people. And the thing you want to communicate is how exciting it was. And essentially what you want is you want everybody who didn't show up to feel pain. Like you want them to feel pain. You want them to say, oh, dang, I missed that. Oh, so what's going to excite? What are the pieces that are going to go ahead and get people to say, man, I should have been there. I need to invite other people. That's what you're looking for in essence. And again, there's more, but you can kind of see it. The C is consistent. Now, when you look at the C, you can see the C is bigger than the B and A and the E and E. Consistency is more important than everything else. If you're not consistent with it, it's not going to work. It doesn't matter how exciting. It doesn't matter how much, if you're not consistent. So the consistency is the most important. Okay. So do it consistently. The E is exciting and entertaining. So personally, I don't think I'm a very entertaining guy naturally. Like my international speaking coach, Linda Breakoff, I go through her 3-day boot camp. And I go through her 3-day boot camp. And at the end of day 1, she comes up to me and she says, Mark, I need to be honest with you. I'm like, okay, I love honesty. She says, you are the most god-awful speaker I have ever seen in my life. I said, ooh, that's awesome, Linda, because I have no place to go but up. I mean, if I'm the worst, that's pretty cool because then I have no place. She just looked at me, shook her head and laughed. She says, you're a masochist. And she said that of all the students she's ever had, she actually coached my children to speak professionally. Became good friends with her. And she says, you're the best speaker that I've ever coached. And so exciting and entertaining can be learned. If a driver analytic can be entertaining and exciting, trust me, you can too. Anybody can do it. So it's important to be able to do that. Tom Kuntz, he went ahead and when he retired from Century 21, I think he had like a 3-year non-compete, and he would join all the podcasts. And once he said to me, he said, Mark, do you know the value that I bring to the podcast? You know what the greatest thing of value? And I said, I can think of a lot of things. What are you thinking of? And he said, stories. I bring stories. So people, sticky, made to stick, telling stories is really important. So how do you make it exciting and understanding? We'll talk in future about different personalities and how they get excited about different things. And then the last E is enlarging the group. So it's quantity and quality. I actually enjoy groups of 1 or 2 people. You mean just you? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Just me? Then there's no dumb people. There's no people waste my time. No, I'm just joking. I'm not, well, or am I? And so I can accomplish more business wise with one person if it's the right person than 100 people in the room. So a lot of times people come to groups and they want to see 10, 20, 30, 100, 200 people. I know that if I can get the one right person, so to me, it's not quantity. I'm not saying quantity is not important. I'm saying for me personally, I tend to do better if there's a few people because, especially as a host, I feel that I have kind of a responsibility to make everybody feel welcome, even if they're not going to grow my business, even if they're not going to help me achieve my life vision. I still need that. Okay, so you got the BACCE. So then, and there's on this, you can see, watch this video first. And so that gives you some training on that. There's some other types of things here. And then there's a table of contents and with questions and answers. So do different personalities get excited about different things, right? So there you have a question. Like, so it's 5 pages. Well, it's actually 3 pages. So it's pretty simple. Like it's a pretty simple document. It's not that complicated. But when you look at, there's 23 pages with Q&A. And you guys are going to probably add a lot more to the Q&A. You guys are going to go through and say, okay, that was helpful. So do different personalities get excited about different things? They do. So we'll talk about that if that's something helpful to you guys. And then there's case studies. And so what Life Masteries uses is MCAT. And so that's the CRM system and the Life GPS, which is a mobile app. And then, here you have the 530 grid and GTing it. So it talks about the 5 areas. Oh, this is the art tree. So this you guys could participate in. So this is really, really cool. And then the golden triangle. This is really neat here. So you've got that. And then identify targets and grouping people and messages together. So that helps you to identify like who's your audience. And if you print this off, fill this out, or you get the booklet and you fill it out, it's really, really cool. And then develop and deliver a message. How are you going to do that? And asking a question and telling a story. And then tracking 100% of leads. It doesn't do any good if you don't go ahead and if you don't track 100% of leads, if you have 10 new leads that come in and you track 9 out of 10, it's not track 90% of leads. The one that you didn't track probably is the one you could have made a sale. I don't know why that happens. It just kind of does. And then asking key questions. So if you have a mastermind group, Coffee Connection or otherwise, if you have that, you're using BACCEE, the amount of time it takes to get people to show up and be consistent and be able to do all of those type of things. If you don't have a strong sales process in place, it's not going to work so good. And then implement a 10 plus strategic strike. And Becky, I think, is going to be like, she's certified as an EVA and she's getting specialized certification in strategic strike. Of the 530 grid, the one that is probably, I think, is maybe the hardest one of all that is box 5, implementing a strategic strike. Like it's crazy how, yeah, it's just crazy. So it's got some of that information in, and then it talks about some of the other boxes and the complexity of it. So there's different case studies in here. You could be a case study too. And then in being able to go through it. So we've gone over, as promised, a lot of information in a very short period of time. What questions do any of you have today? I know you're all thinking, man, it's totally clear. I'm going to go out and do a BACCEE tomorrow. I get it. I totally get it. Any questions that any of you have? Yes, Nate.
Um, I'm wondering about for introverts doing the step of exciting, communicating in an exciting way when you're an introvert and it's challenging just to connect with people.
Right, right. Good question. So sometimes you just fake it, Nate. You just fake it. Like,
Mm.
yeah, you fake it for a little while. I think, Nate, what I have found is that when you learn to ask interesting questions, when you learn to ask interesting questions, that will go ahead and help you to come across as exciting. Or if you're excited about the topic that you're talking about, that will also go ahead. So, personally, I don't think I'm that good of a speaker and I don't think I'm that good of a writer, but boy, do I have some great content. I mean, I got some content that you can't even find on the internet. It's the most amazing content in the world. And so, when you really love the content, and you could go ahead and share the same content I do, and I think you would get as excited as I am. So, so it's just, Nate, it's like anything. You learn how to do it, you do it like I did with my 3-day boot camp and and speaking. Mark, you're the most god awful speaker there is. Okay, I'll get better. So so a lot of it's just repetition. There are other things you can do is find somebody who's an extrovert. So when I go networking, like like when I was my first book I was writing, I went ahead and had a publicist, and she and I were out on the East Coast, and we went to a book signing, not my book signing, but somebody's, and we went there, and I just stood there, and I didn't introduce myself to anybody. I just stood there, and she's like, "Mark, you have to talk to people." I'm like, "Actually, I don't," and I just stood there. She shook her head, and she's like, "Mark, Mark, Mark, Mark," and then she went ahead and took me by the hand. She didn't, but it felt like that. And she introduced me to somebody. And then I had a conversation with the person. And then she introduced me to somebody else and somebody else. And at the end, she said, "Mark, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself to people?" I'm like, "I just don't do it." She's like, "You should. Like, people find you to be very interesting." I'm like, "Okay, well, that's good. I just don't." So what I do is my little trick is in a networking group, Nate, is my trick is I look around for the expressive personality. So I look around for the expressive personality. Often it's going to be a young woman. So it's not always, but it's often going to be a young woman, but I want the expressive. And so the expressive personality is really bubbly. They know everybody. They're really friendly. Then what I do is, this is why if it's a woman, it's I have an advantage, because I'll go up to her and I say, "Listen, hey, Julie, you know, I'm an introvert, and I have a hard time, introducing myself. It seems like you're a really fun person, really interesting person. You know a lot of people. Would there be, I mean, is it too much to ask, like, could you introduce me to people?" And she'll go, "Oh my goodness, absolutely. Yeah." And she'll start introducing me to all these people. And because she's the outgoing one and everybody knows her and everybody likes her, they think she likes me. And then I get to know everybody and I overcome my handicap. And it works. It's absolutely amazing. If you learn to ask the right questions, there was one. And we'll learn this in the mastermind groups in the future podcast. But we'll learn how to ask certain questions. And so, literally, I had one guy, and he didn't know me. I didn't know him, brand new. And literally within 3 minutes, he said, "Mark, I don't know what your product is. I don't know what your service is. I don't know what you do. It doesn't matter. I just want to buy whatever you're selling." He was serious based on the questions that I asked. So the questions, when we look at the 530 grid, we think that selling comes from presenting solutions, which is box 8, but it actually doesn't. Most selling comes from asking the question. And the rule is, if somebody will say to you, that's a great question 3 times. Like, people don't do that unless it's a great question. It's a reflex. And so if somebody will say, that's a great question 3 times, they'll buy anything from you. Why? Because what you're doing is you're asking them questions that are right outside. There's a whole science on this. We may get into this in future podcasts. I don't know how deep you guys are going to go, but great question, Nate. Did that answer your question?
Yes.
Nice. Awesome. Anybody else have any other questions before we wrap up today's? And you always want to come early and stay late, because that's where the real good stuff is when you come early and stay late. That's where the real good stuff is. Anybody have any other questions before we wrap up today? All right. So if you have any questions, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.